What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with RFTools. And today, guys, we're going to be setting up a fully automated tree farm, which is going to be a little bit more complicated using RFTools than some of the other mods that you might have access to. Now, the reason being is because RFTools does not actually have a block that's intended to farm pretty much anything, whether it's going to be crops or trees. And a lot of mods do include those blocks, but as you may know, if you've watched my other Surviving with series, in pretty much every series where it's possible, I do like to try and make a tree farm very early on, whether it's for power generation or just for fun because wood can be useful for, various different things. Typically it's for power generation though, but I like to set those up. So we're going to kind of, fiddle our way through making one using RFTools, and it is possible. It's a little bit more complicated, but that also might be a little bit more fun. So I'm actually super excited for this, and hopefully it will actually yield us some power in the end, because unfortunately this quarry over here sucks up a ton of power. So we're actually almost at full again, so I guess we can flip this lever and watch it go. But yeah, so we'll see if it gets us some stuff. It has been doing a very good job, but as you can see, the minute it starts mining through stuff, it really drains its power. So unfortunately, we are getting resources, but we're burning through a ton of coal, and so hopefully we can replace that with charcoal in the future. But we're going to be dividing this into two separate episodes. So today's episode is going to be going over setting up sort of the, way that we're going to farm the trees, which is going to be using two different builders with different cards. And then we'll set up another one later on that'll connect to this, which will be dealing with kind of the automation of everything. So it'll be sorting the wood from the saplings and turning the wood into charcoal, using the charcoal to make more charcoal, and then feeding that back into a generator for the system, and then the excess power into the base, and making sure the saplings go into the builder that needs them. So not really going to touch really much on that now, because we're just going to focus on setting up the bare bones of the tree farm. But unfortunately, and I guess fortunately for some of you, we don't have to do any crafting today. And that is because I actually recorded about 10 minutes of audio, and I was really happy with how it turned out and how the explanation went, where I was kind of rambling about stuff, and then we did the crafting. And so you can see in my inventory, we've got everything we need ready to go. We've got, and I'll go over this now just so you know what we actually need without having to do the crafting, but we're going to have a shape card clearing quarry. It's important that it's clearing quarry because last episode we used a regular quarry, which replaces everything it mines with dirt, and so we want the clearing quarry because we're only going to be clearing a small area. There's not going to be any lag created by liquid flowing there that might, happen if you were using a regular kind of quarrying technique. And so we wanted to stay as air, so we got to use the clearing quarry, and then a regular shape card because we're going to be using this to plant the trees themselves, and that's really all you need is a shape card because it's going to fill in the blocks. Then we have two builders, one for each card, and then we've got a filter module, which is going to be important in making sure that these nice spruce saplings, which we're going to be using, do not get picked up if they have not grown yet. Now, the reason we're using spruce saplings is because I want to show you guys how it will work if you're using 2x2 trees that can grow up to being 30 blocks tall. So it'll work with everything. You can use oak, birch, spruce, really anything, but I wanted to show you guys how it functions with the extra large trees. After that, I have two modular storage that we're going to put one on top of each builder for either having an inventory to put stuff into or pull stuff out of. We've got the two tier 1 storage modules, of course, for the modular storage. And then we've got a coal generator and simple power cell, just kind of as a makeshift power setup now, because we're not really going to have any power out there for the time being until we have the second episode in this kind of small little, I guess, I don't know what to call it, just a small little, section of episodes based around this. But yeah, so we got this as the power setup and then just some charcoal to burn out there so that we can actually power it and see it function. So much faster than me actually going through and crafting it. I know a bunch of you always hate when I have to do crafting, and then the rest of you are like, wait, I love it. Don't get rid of it. So kind of torn on that front, but you get the best of both worlds because sometimes Rage forgets and just, starts recording and then gets mad at himself. Because honestly, I was really happy with how the last one was going. But you know what? We've got a chance now to make it even better than the last one. So we're going to start out with our builders, and I've cleared out a nice area here. You can make it as big as you want, but I'm going to start out with this area because honestly, not looking to make it that huge. It's kind of more of a proof of concept for me for the time being. I have tested it and it works, but I want to make sure that it functions and kind of can actually generate us power before I scale it up to be, 10 chunks big. So we're going to go the small area, and we are just going to plop the builders down. We'll put one down here and one down here. It doesn't really matter how you set them up. There's not going to be any rhyme or reason until we actually have the automation set up, in which case I may need to fiddle with these a little bit because we may need to have them oriented in different ways. But what we need to do now is take both of these cards and start setting up the dimensions. So I'm going to decide that this left one here is going to be the one that's going to plant all of our saplings. So we're going to be using the regular shape card on this, which just allows it to place down blocks. So what we can do is shift right click on this, and for some reason I always have trouble with this because it wants you to select the first corner and then it wants you to select the next corner. So I feel like it should define that area based on how much you offset it from this and treat it like it's that area in the real world, but I don't think it does. So what we're going to do is select this one right over here. So we're going to come up with one space between them into the far side, and we are going to select that, and then we're going to come all the way over here, and I think we'll select the second corner as right here. So it's going to bother me if it's not like a square with those in the center, but I don't really care. So this is going to be one block away from that. So now all these settings are in the shape card, which is great. So now we're going to put that in there, and what we should be able to do is actually pull this card out, because there is one thing we need to do, and that is to set the offset of this to 0. This should be in the Y direction. And the reason we're doing that is because we selected the blocks that are in the ground. We wanted to select the blocks one above that because that is where the trees are going to be planted. So now if we show the view, it has selected that area, and this is how you want it to be. Now this is actually great because I believe if we come over here and we select this, we should be able to actually use these blocks, which aren't really there, to prevent us from having to do that again. So just a fun little trick for you guys. So now if we get rid of this and fall back down, if we come over here and show the view, it should be the same exact area, which is exactly what we want. But what we want to do is actually pull this card out because they are going to be 30 high. And so we need to make it so I believe this should be the X, Y, and then Z. So we need to change the Y total to being, I want to say 31 because it's currently 1. So we want it to be 31. And then I believe we want the offset to be 15. So positive 15. So if we slap it back in here and now show it, it should be this whole area, and it should go up to make sure it covers all the possibility of the trees growing. And what I'm actually going to do too, and just to note this, is to make sure we always get the return for our saplings. I do kind of want to, actually, you know what, no. So I'll say this, you should get plenty of saplings to replant just from having it encompass the same area all the way up. You do have the option though of extending the sides by 1 in every direction if you'd like to make sure that any trees that are on the very edge that grow will have all of their leaves collected. And you'll notice when we start doing this that does happen, that there are leaves that will despawn and just drop stuff on the ground. So eventually I may alter this, but for now we'll leave it like this because when I tested it, it seemed like you were getting enough saplings returned that there wasn't really any issue. So now we verified that these are both covering the exact area that we need. So they're pretty much good to go. Now we are going to change some settings. So we're going to do this with keeping running with redstone signal, and we're going to set the redstone mode to ignored. So it's always going to keep going. And I believe that these should only use redstone if they get to an area that needs to be mined or planted. So this one's going to be planted. This one's going to be mined. So we are going to get rid of that, and then we're going to have it set so that if the operation is not possible, wait on the current position. So I believe that's if, like, let's say they don't have enough power, it's not going to keep running and running and running. It'll make sure it waits there until it gets more power so it can get rid of the entire tree, which is good. So we've got both of those set to that, and I believe we got to make sure this one's set to redstone mode ignored. And then what we're going to do is take the filter module, and we need to put it on this one, because if you noticed, when we show this, it's encompassing and it's going to try and clear out this area at the bottom here where the saplings are planted. So in theory, the minute those get planted, they're going to get picked up by this thing, and that's not what we want. So we need to filter those out. So it's going to be spruce saplings. So we put them in and we have them set to blacklist. So you can whitelist them and you can blacklist them. So what we can do is come in here and check that it's set to mode blacklist. And I like to make sure, just because I've had some issues when I was doing some testing where it was not properly registering them. And then we're going to put the filter in there. So it's unfortunate that it doesn't actually show. I wish it showed in the text what you were blacklisting, but I guess because in here it's so many spaces, that would really mess it up. So it would be, you know, a super long amount of text in there, but that should be good now. So now we can throw down the modular storage systems on top of both of these, and this one is going to be inputting, so this is where all the saplings are going to go, and this one is going to be the output, so this is where all the saplings that come from the leaves and where all the wood is going to go. So then we're going to throw in the storage modules in here, and we should be able to throw our saplings in here. Now obviously I'm going to have to manually move them one to the next and keep refilling it, and that's a little bit annoying because you do not get a huge surplus. So I will have to constantly keep moving them until we get the automated setup going, but at the same time I'm still going to have to be refilling this with coal or charcoal and manually turning the wood into charcoal until we have, again, the full automated setup going. So really I can't complain about that much. So now we're going to use the coal generator and the simple power cell, so we'll throw that down right between the two and just put a coal generator there, and then this one should be set to out on all sides, and these should, I believe, start getting some power in them, right? Is this, oh, right. Okay, so I actually do have to get rid of this. It shouldn't be set to out on all sides. Can I wrench this away? Yeah. So it needs to be set to putting in on the top and then putting out on the rest of the sides. There we go. Okay, so now they have all that, and I actually, well, they don't have levers, actually. So they'll just stop if they don't have power. Is this one getting all the power? Why is it not evenly distributing the power? That is so unfair. Okay, well, we can't really start it until this one gets power to it. So maybe we set this up so that this one gets power first, because they're going to take time to grow. Okay, so there we go. Let's get that one some power, and we should be able to click to start them. Pretty much click right here. So you can see it starts planting the saplings. So going row by row, and it does require a little bit of power, but it's not too much. And obviously we're not going to have to plant these a ton. And so row by row, and we might run into the issue that it's kind of close, and I know that can affect tree growth, so I will clear out kind of some of this area over here. You want it to be a nice open area to make sure that these can grow, and just, you know, keep it nice and clean around here, and then continue clearing out over here, because I know we're going basically right up to this side. Okay, so we ran out of saplings. So now it should keep charging with power, and it will hold on that spot, so that's where it will try and plant again. So now what we need to do is essentially we can click this, and it's going to try and mine those, but it actually shouldn't be, because there's nothing grown there. So it is using power, which I thought it wouldn't, but I guess, okay. Well, regardless, it shouldn't be an issue. What we're going to do is come in here, and I am going to grab out some bones that I have, just because I do want to show you guys how this actually works. So we got some bone meal here, and we should be able to grow some of these trees. Oh, so you see one grew there already, and this should eventually make its way over. Okay, so it actually was clearing them. Okay, so it should start clearing this tree. If I had a surplus of power in here, it would just be like thunk, 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 and it would go all the way down to the bottom of the tree. It's extremely fast if you have the power for it. So that's why I want to have a ton of these generators set up with a ton of charcoal being fed in, because as you can see, one of these trees is going to give us an absolute buttload of charcoal. I mean, if it's roughly 30 high, then that should be giving us about 2 stacks of wood. So let's say we get about 2/3 of that for charcoal to actually generate power. So we're going to be getting, you know, about a stack, let's just say roughly a stack, and let's just say a stack and a half. We'll get roughly a stack and a half of charcoal to generate power. So we can be throwing that at the rate that it burns through it. We can have that in a ton of these generators generating power for us. And so you can see also they grow very, very fast. So that's another thing, is that you're actually going to be better off sustaining your saplings if you're able to clear these faster, because as you can see, you kind of run into the issue where it gets rid of some of the leaves. So yeah, there was no need for that bone meal. Those things are sprouting like no tomorrow. So I am going to sleep, just because it is nighttime now, and I really don't want to die in this series. I can't remember if I've died yet, but I really don't want to. So you can see slowly making its way through these, and just more and more are growing. So that's kind of my proof of concept that this portion actually works. If you have a power generation setup and you're just looking for wood, then you are good to go on setting this thing up. It will get you all the wood that you could possibly need, and eventually I really would like to make this so that it's got a surplus of power that we can power our base with. But it really, I mean, in this one, there really isn't much of an option. Obviously, we have the option eventually of infusing really late game with the stuff from going to different dimensions, the shards. We have the option of doubling the power output for these, but if we can't manage to get it with, you know, the amount of charcoal that we're getting per block it's breaking, it really comes down to how much can we get from a single piece of charcoal and how much does it take to mine a block. So if we can't get it to work, then it's kind of a failed concept and we may leave it just as this, but I think it's worth giving it a shot. So feel free to set this up in your world and let me know how it goes. If you guys have sort of sorting setups to make this even better, the more mods you add, the better this will get, because you can really easily just pipe things from one to another and filter them. But obviously we're playing with RFTools. We don't really have pipes and filters that we can use like that. So we got to do some makeshift stuff using the storage systems and whatnot. And so I will let you guys know how that goes, I guess, next episode when we try and actually set it up. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. And if you're curious why the audio sounds different and hopefully sounds a little bit better, it is because I believe I mentioned in my last video that I had just finished up with my finals. And so I've finished moving all my stuff back to my house for the next month and like a week or so. And, you know, the carpet in this room is much fluffier, I guess I will say, so it's better at absorbing sound. I have a lot more stuff in my room here, so it's a lot less echoey. And that might be why it sounds a little bit better. So I hope it sounds better for you guys. But if you were curious, that is why. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode, and I will talk to you later.
Standing in a glass bowl at the end of a black hole, cold, lost and upside down. Faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling vastly.